Kids, I'm going to tell you an incredible story. The true story of how I met my co-host.
What a fantastic beginning!
There'll be spectacle, there'll be fantasy, there'll be daring do and stuff like you would never see.
Hey, a movie! Yeah, we're gonna be a movie!
Starring everybody
and me. There'll be heroes bold, there'll be comedy, and a lot of fuss that is for us to happily.
Hey, a movie!
We can watch it all develop.
Starring everybody! And me! We'll make the world and set it on its ear.
Come on, join in. We're gonna start right here.
Tonight on a very special episode of Hey a Movie, we discuss the true story of how your hosts met each other.
there'll be mystery and catastrophe, but it's all in fun. You may not want to wait and see. Hey, a movie! Is there any way to stop it? Starring everybody, and me.
Welcome to Hey a Movie, the podcast where two Christians review Hollywood movies and ask the question if their spiritual truths are biblically accurate. I'm Chris Bastito.
And I'm Martin Glenn.
Tonight we're doing a very special episode. This is our episode 0. And the reason we're calling it episode 0 is because we're going to tell you our background. This is kind of a preview before we release our first episode, just so you know the two of us and know our story together as friends. So Martin, would you go ahead and start the story of our first encounter?
Yeah. So way back when, in the early aughts, we were going to the same college, though we weren't going together because we didn't know each other. And I was actually on leadership for the InterVarsity Christian Fellowship / Brothers and Sisters in Christ, basically a college youth group. And and we were trying to reach out to the community, and both in terms of also for Christian culture generally. And we also had a lot of fellowship, and it was a good time. Very, very good time in my life. Loved it. So, who was in charge of our group was told of this great speaker who would be able to present the truth of the pro-life perspective on campus. And we said, hey, that's great because, let's not kill babies. I'm all for not killing babies,
Yes.
and so let's see if we can encourage other people to, not kill babies. This is his real name. Was Flip Wilson. His first name
I didn't know his name was Wilson.
I hope I'm remembering the last name correctly. It was definitely Flip. And I think his last name was Wilson. It was not a nickname or anything else like that. That is the man's full name, or how he actually goes by anyway. And we invited.
And I intend to use that argument if my son ever says to me, why did you give him for a full name? Because his name is Jack, as you know, of course, Martin. But
yeah.
The number one reason, by the way, if anyone's wondering, we had talked about naming him Jackson, but my wife's uncle, who was also a very close friend of mine, passed away, and his burial was several months later because he passed away in the winter in New York. So at the burial, we had just recently found out that my wife was pregnant with our son, and I was very upset at the burial of Uncle Mike, and she leans over to me and kind of quietly in my ear says, hey, if this is a boy, maybe we can make his middle name Michael after Uncle Mike. Well, we talked about the full name Jackson, but then I realized I can't name my child Jackson Michael. So
No, that would
usually
not work.
name
No.
is just Jack. Okay, proceed with
You
the
can always
story,
be Jack short for John.
which makes no sense.
And, you know, you have
Four-letter
Bill short for
nickname that
Williams.
has the same number of syllables. Name.
Well, dude, Jonathan. Anyway, moving on, because that's not actually what we're talking about right now anyway. So we invited Flip on, and we all came and we met him. And the in the main building of the college on the campus, there was this open space that had some places where you can grab some food. There was a place where you could sit. It was very, very wide open. It wasn't quite a cafeteria, but
It was the student union.
Student union. Yeah, that's actually, yeah, that's right. That's what it's called, the student union. And so we set him up there, and he stood up and he started speaking, and he made his speech, and then he started to have various people from the audience ask him questions. This is all going according to plan until Flip decided to flip, as in flip out, because he started to insult the people who he was talking to. Now, our intention was not to make a stand about being pro-life. Our intention was to convince people to be pro-life. Like, we were trying to do a convincing thing. He was trying to do, like, I'm taking a stand and this is where I'm standing. We don't, okay, whatever. It's not about you. It's about the kids. You know, so because he started to insult everyone, everything just kind of blew up. And my friend Ben and I, we started to go around the crowd, and if a lot of people who were very violent, we would try to pull them aside. Well, not violent. The word violent has gotten more real lately, but people who are particularly loud and boisterous, we would pull them aside, and then we'll just have one-on-one conversations with them, trying to calm them down, while Flip was doing his thing. It was, let's say, just say it was a disaster, because this man was not the quality man that we thought he was. He was knowledgeable. His speech was good, but he did not have the interpersonal skills as like a Charlie Kirk or something. He did not know how to work a
As
crowd.
I recall, he didn't have the interpersonal skills of a radish.
No, he did not know how to work a crowd at all.
So the backstory for me on why I ended up in the student union that day, I see no reason why we can't say where we went to college. We went to the State University of New York's College at Brockport, which is in Rochester, New York. This was also in it was in January. It's the beginning of the semester. And the geniuses that designed our alma mater decided to take the design of a campus from Phoenix, Arizona, and basically model it for a campus in Western New York. The design was 2 long rows of tall buildings. Great idea in Phoenix. Terrible idea in Rochester, New York winter.
Basically, it was a wind tunnel.
It was exactly a wind tunnel. And
Right.
also,
and you want a wind tunnel in Phoenix, Arizona. You don't want one in upstate New York.
Exactly. And on top of that, the facilities people at campus apparently thought that a snowplow were those things that are attached to the bottom of our ankles, because they never cleared the sidewalks. But the student union was not a tower. The student union was a 1-floor, 2-floor building, but it ran parallel to the sidewalk. So on cold days, my entire time there, I was in the habit of, I'll go in, if it's really cold and I need to get to the other end of campus, I will go in the one end, walk through the union, warm up a little bit, walk back out, and leave. But I, as I got to the center area, this kind of center concourse that Martin was describing, I see this anti-abortion protest. And this is about 3 months after I had what I would call my Aldersgate experience in college, where, I've been a Christian since I was a child, but I had a really connect with God level up kind of a moment alone in the dorm room. And so I see this going on and think to myself, well, hey, I can miss philosophy. So I stood by to observe for a bit. And then, well, Martin, you tell it.
So Flip continues to flip out, and well, I mean, he is flipping out at this point, and suddenly there is this. How best can I do this? There's this big fat guy who basically suddenly gets up out of the crowd. I know I'm not one to speak anymore, but he gets up out of the crowd and he starts taking over, and he's taking questions, and this guy actually knows how to work a crowd. He actually knows how to talk to people. He knows how to show respect to his opponents. He knows how to present an argument in such a way that isn't he doesn't call his the people he's disagreeing with little girls. What was he thinking? What was Flip thinking? And then Flip Wilson basically got upset that he was getting upstaged by this kid, and then just blows. What was it that he said? I think he says something about homosexuality or something.
Homosexuality is a sin. Islam is a lie, and I don't remember what the third thing was.
Yeah, he just starts throwing stuff out there to turn the pot. And
here's the best part, though. When he said Islam is a lie, the same female student who was standing up there and saying, I remember this clearly, there is no God. As soon as he said Islam is a lie, she got mad and said, you can't say that. You just told us there is no God. You do realize Islam believes in a God, right?
Yeah,
it's not the same God as Christians, but they are theists.
For the life of me, I don't know why Chad didn't pull him. Chad felt like Chad wanted to, but he felt like we were just too committed at that point. But I don't know. I disagreed with him on that. But he was the one who was ultimately in charge. And I was a student leader. It was like being on student council. You don't really have deciding power. You just sort of are an advisor. And so Flip just blows things up further. I don't remember what you did after that. But what was it that you did after that?
Well, after that, as I'm up there taking over this guy's stage, I'm noticing the other people kind of walking around, calming things down, and thought to myself, hey, I should go introduce myself to those guys. One of those guys was Martin. Another one was a friend of ours, Ben. Ben, hey, if you see this, buddy, shout out. So yeah, I went over, I approached them, and Martin and I started chatting, and because it was 2003, I guess, somewhere around there, I believe we exchanged AIM numbers or names or whatever handles.
Yeah, back in the day when AIM was a big deal.
So yeah. So we got talking, and realized we had a lot in common, and the friendship just kind of grew from there. That was
funny thing about that Flip whole thing went really well.
I wasn't involved with the group yet at that point.
No, you weren't. No.
I didn't get involved. Here's one more story about that. So I wasn't able to start going to the IVCF basic meetings on Friday nights until the start of the next semester. I started getting to know these guys, and we hung out, and I went to like small group Bible studies, and one was 2 Samuel about what's his name that we ended up calling Meph, and we still to this day.
Mephibosheth.
Is that?
What?
Yeah. I always get that name and then the code word shibboleth mixed up in my head because they sound too much alike.
Okay.
So So I wasn't able to go until the start of the next semester because I was usually working on Friday nights at I worked at a Burger King in town. Um, so when the new semester started, I actually asked my boss if I could have Friday nights off. So I get there for the first Friday night event when we got back to school the next year, and it was kind of a getting to know you fun event. And the getting to know you fun event was a scavenger hunt. Well, I only knew a couple of people at the group. Martin and I had already started to become friends and had already become good friends. Martin knows where this story is going.
Yes, I do.
So I, you're in a group of people, you don't know everybody, you know one person semi well at this point, so you go over to the person you know. And so I joined Martin's team for this, and there was at least 4 of us on the team. This girl,
it was you, me, Lenny, and Esther.
Was it Lenny? I remember there being at least one other girl, but maybe it was Lenny.
Me?
Anyway.
That was Lenny. Okay.
Okay, so this girl comes over, joins our team. She introduces herself to me. And throughout this campus-wide scavenger hunt, I'm observing. And I'm observing something very interesting about this girl. And I'm noticing this girl is definitely very interested romantically in Martin. And then I look over at Martin and I say, holy crap, he has no idea that she's really interested in him. And I kept looking back and forth at the two of them, completely noticing everything he was missing, right?
I knew what it was. Well, I don't know if I knew at that point because I don't remember that exact point. But,
it was so obvious to me as a third party. So anyway, fast forward about 3 months, and I remember this conversation, which is why I don't think you knew at that point. You told me that you were going to ask her out, and my response was, well, geez, it's about time. And you said something like, what do you mean it's about time? I'm like, you're not aware that she has a huge crush on you. She does? So
no, I was fully aware. Because the reason why I know that I was aware for a long time before I asked her out was because I wasn't interested. And I was actively trying to let her down without like saying something out in the open. So I knew for a while she was interested in me before I was interested in her in return.
Okay, so formally speaking, how does that young lady introduce herself today?
As my wife, yes. We are now married.
Yes.
And we have been married for many years.
Yeah, you're
married
coming.
In 2007, we have 2 boys. It's been wonderful years.
Yes. Well, I can't believe I'm gonna correct you on this. You have 3 boys. One just happens to be in heaven.
Yeah, we're actually very careful in our language with that. We have 3 boys. We have 2 boys. We have had 3 boys. So so whenever, yeah, we have been playing that word game a lot, so we know how to play it. So when I say I have 2 boys, I mean currently. And
Okay.
A lot of times if someone asks me how many kids I have, I'll say at the moment I have 3, or something along those lines.
Yes.
At the moment I have 2.
So yeah, that's another basis of Martin's and my friendship. First, Martin went through the situation of having a child who was born with a serious congenital defect, or multiple, I believe. And
he had one major one that caused a bunch of minor ones.
Right. And so I was kind of Martin's support as he dealt with that. And then you fast forward several years, and now I'm married, and my wife and I welcome our second child, and she has a congenital heart defect. And so, Martin kind of understood on a level that other people couldn't. I'm thankful to say I have 3 children. I have only ever had 3 children. Riley made it, so I'm grateful for that. But that was that was a couple of big events that really affected our friendship. However, and the other thing to mention, or worth mentioning, there have been times on various Christian groups where I have teased Martin in the comments, and then somebody will comment back to me and say to me, "Why are you being so rude? He's a total stranger." And my reply back to them will be, "Actually, he was the best man at my wedding. He's not a total stranger."
No.
So
But
that's
you
only,
didn't come to my wedding. You and your lousy excuses.
what you mean, being in the hospital and unable to travel?
Yeah, but you caused that car accident. I think it was on purpose.
I mean, I had a great speech.
Yeah. I
know,
believe.
because
I think you actually told us what your speech was when we came and visited you. Like,
you did. You guys came and visited me, and I still have. I wish I had thought to bring it in here. I don't want to go off camera and get it, but I still have the groomsman gift you gave.
It's a nice keychain.
It is a nice keychain. And it has my name on it with a cross under it, to the point where when I've shown it to people, they say, "Does this say your name with a cross on it, or does it just say Christ?" So that's a fun little side note. So the other thing we wanted to do tonight, because this is meant to be a brief introduction to us, is we're just going to give you a quick history of us as movie nerds. So Martin, how did you become a movie nerd?
Right. So, well, pretty much for me, it was my my mother, and
Not your dad.
no, it was definitely my mother. You know, my mother is just obsessed with movies, and she would just collect every movie that she could find. So growing up, we had bookshelves upon bookshelves, just had movies, and then we had well over 300, 400 films that we would just occasionally just watch, and from all sorts of time periods and everything. We watched the black and white movies. We didn't watch any silent films. It wasn't until I was in college that I got to watch some silent films. But yeah, my mom was a huge
For
fan, and it's just how I grew up. And we knew every actor. Us kids, we were constantly quoting the movies to one another. It was just part of growing up. It was just part of my life.
So my my history as a movie nerd actually didn't start at home at first. It started at the babysitter's house. So back in the late 80s, early 90s, probably earlier than that, there was this phenomenon known as movie clubs and music clubs. So like Columbia House, BMG, etc. My babysitter, or more likely her husband, joined one of those. They joined both music and movies. I remember they had huge collections of both. And they had a large collection of movies on Laserdisc, which
Laserdisc. That's right there.
Kids, if you know what a Blu-ray is or a DVD, which true kids may not know, imagine one of those the size of a vinyl record. And you used to have to flip it in the middle of the movie.
You actually know what a vinyl record is. Yeah.
If you actually, vinyl's around as a niche thing.
Yeah.
So
they're still a thing. Laser discs are not, because they weren't.
Yeah. They weren't. Then they figured out how to make them smaller, and that's the DVD kind of was the format. So we would, if there was a day with terrible weather, because usually we were outside playing, but if there was a rainy day or a ridiculously cold day, that was kind of our treat. Was we got to have a movie day, and we'd watch 3 movies in an afternoon, and that was the experience. And then about the time I got to be too old to go to a babysitter's, my parents, I guess, got to a point financially where they could afford to do this. They joined the music club, and they also joined that same phenomenon that was the Columbia House Movie Club. So we started getting 2 or 3 new movies every month and had a pretty good sized collection. And then when college rolled around, the wonderful phenomenon known as the $5 bin came into existence. So I started buying VHS tapes out of the $5 bin at Walmart, and then eventually got a DVD player, and eventually started buying DVDs. So that's how I started building up my movie collection. I have on hard media on my VHS.
This episode of Hey a Movie is brought to you by Dogs. From day 6, this runner-up to be a suitable companion for man has been your source for love, companionship, and an excellent excuse to go for a nice long walk. Dogs are another fine creation of Yahweh Triune.
I have a nearly full. My wife, when I married her, convinced me to get rid of the cases for my movies. So she bought me a 300-page CD book, and I put all my movies in that. I have close to 100 on digital now as well. Plus, I work for the cable company, and so now I have access to literally every streaming service known to man. There are only 2 I can think of that I don't get with my free cable that I get from work, which prior to working there, I didn't have cable TV for like a decade. But it's free. I do use it occasionally, maybe once a week. You know, I put on the Syracuse football game today, for example.
I haven't had cable since 2004.
Kristen and I had it when we were newlyweds, and then we dropped it within that year.
Yeah,
so, yes. Here's a fun fact about me, by the way. Anyone who knows the movie or the books, Willy Wonka, if you know the interesting thing about Charlie Bucket's grandparents, he has 2 sets, Grandpa George and Grandma Georgina, Grandma Josephine, and Grandpa Joe.
Grandpa Joe, yeah.
I remember being a child, having my mother read the book to me before I ever saw a movie, and thinking to myself, who the heck names somebody with the female equivalent, or the male equivalent if you happen to be female, of their name? Well, my name's Chris, or Christopher. Grew up, married a woman named Kristen, and about 3 years ago, I was reading that book, same copy of Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory, to our oldest daughter. And I dropped the book and realized, holy cow, I do that. So apparently it happens. It doesn't happen that often. We didn't name Martin's wife in here, but her name is not Martina.
We named her.
Did you say
her name's Esther? Yeah, we had named her earlier.
Yeah, so he's not married to a woman named Martina, but I'm a guy named Christopher named to a woman named Kristen. It happens. Okay, on to our brief discussion questions. Martin, name 5 movies. My thought was 5 movies that you think are among the best of all time, but it can be your favorites as well.
All right, and actually, it's good that we did it.
You know,
I have my list here. So, one of the things about this is people always like confuse us because because we're like identical twins practically.
Yeah, but they don't think we look like identical twins for some reason. And I always say that's because you're not wearing your hat.
Oh, all right. Yeah, I'm sorry. I forgot about that. Yeah. All right. Yeah. All right. So
you see it.
So my favorite, I have these more in categories. So my favorite comedic movie of all time is Monty Python: The Holy Grail. There are some movies that have gotten close. Hot Fuzz has gotten close to overtaking it, but still, there's something very special about Holy Grail, and a lot of that is because I had a lot to do with my relationship with my father. My favorite war movie of all time is The Guns of Navarone. It's an absolutely fantastic film.
That's
If you
the
haven't
Duke,
seen
right?
it, seen what?
That's the Duke, right?
No, it's holy cow, who plays Mallory? Wait, it had David Niven, Gregory Peck. Gregory Peck plays Mallory. Anthony, so I usually can rattle them off like this. Anyway, absolutely great movie. Fan, and it's just how I grew up, and we knew every actor. We are us kids. We were constantly quoting the movies to one another. It was just part of growing up. It was just part of my life. Movie fan, and absolutely great movie. Highly recommend it. I am stuttering like crazy right now. My favorite Western of all time is Rio Bravo. It also has Dean Martin in it, which
It's a good one.
I think makes it even better. My favorite action movie of all time is Lethal Weapon. I don't know why. And don't ask me which Lethal Weapon is the best one. It's either the first or the second one, but it's hard for me to choose between the two.
Okay, let's just top of your head. Best Lethal Weapon movie on 3.
Wait. On 3 or 1, 2, 3, and then go.
I don't remember what their answer was. Just don't go on 2. Nobody goes on 2.
No one goes on 2. Nobody goes on 2. That's just ridiculous. And in terms of just my favorite drama, just general movie, my favorite drama of all time would be 12 Angry Men, Henry Fonda. Yeah, the one with Jack Lemmon. I don't know. Have you ever seen the one with Jack Lemmon?
I have seen. I really like the one with Jack Lemmon, and one of the things I like most about the one with Jack Lemmon, 2 things. First of all, if you're going to remake a movie that's that good, you need to very closely stick to the original script. And the Jack Lemmon version did that. The only things they changed was, like, in the original, it was a fan that wasn't working. And in the update, there's my cat. In the update, it was an air conditioner that wasn't working.
They also made some differences in terms of acting choices and directing choices, some of which were actually very good. Like, they made sure that the intellectual, who was juror number 4, they made sure that he was a sympathetic character, that he was likable. While the first one makes him a little snivelly, which I like juror number 4 better in the Jack Lemmon one, and I like I'm not sure which one I like better, but juror number 7, who I call the fan, because he messes with the fan, but also because he's a baseball fan. He's and more to his credit, he's a Yankee fan, and he's played by Tony Danza in the Jack Lemmon one, and they have a different acting choice there. Where in the big moment when he changes his mind, the reason why he changes his mind is different in the 2 films, and it's not there in the words they say; it's how they say them. And I don't know which one I like better. I think both are good interpretations, but that is a difference. The main reason why I like the Henry Fonda one better, though, the main reason why I like the Henry Fonda one better is that Jack Lemmon is kind of too old. You have the character who's defined by being an old man, and then you have 2 other actors in there who are phenomenal actors. I don't remember Patton's name right now, but he's
George C. Scott.
George C. Scott, and he plays juror number 3, and he's just as old as the man who plays the old man, which kind of undercuts a lot of the relationship that goes on between them in the script. And while George C. Scott does a fantastic job because he's George C. Scott, and while Jack Lemmon does a fantastic job because he's Jack Lemmon, they're kind of too old for the script. And it's frustrating because it's such a good rendition of it. So I'd still say that the Henry Fonda one is better, but Lemmon one is also very good. It's very good.
I'm going to steal a Mike Winger thing here and do a cat sighting. This is Nala because I am a movie nerd, and we named our cat after... I swore I would never have another cat after Benny. And then Nala here decided our house looked warm one day in January. She might be a year old by now. I don't think she is though. But she was very small. She was a kitten, and she was not unkempt like a stray normally would be, like she had been abandoned earlier that day. And so she followed me in when I went to go take the trash out. In fact, I thought she was a squirrel that snuck into my house somehow, and I was like looking for something to grab, and I realized, no, wait, that's a kitten. So I just picked her up and, brought her back outside. And then I told my wife. My oldest daughter overheard it, and they both said, it's too cold for her to be out there. It was February, excuse me. I'd started my job that I'm at now. Convinced me to let her in, and then proceeded to work me over that we could keep her. So we tried to find her family, couldn't find her family. Irony, I was the one who was most reticent to get a cat. Guess who the cat thinks her person is? So, okay. So, did you complete your list or no?
Yeah, that was all 5.
Okay. So it's interesting you mentioned Patton, because that would be my best war movie. I love Patton. I think it's a great movie.
Which is fair.
But I didn't go that route. One other comment on the 12 Angry Men. It's interesting you mentioned that the fan guy, Jerry 7, did you say? I'd never memorized the numbers.
Jerry 7, yeah.
Yeah, so in the remake, he was a Yankee fan. That was another one of the updates for time.
You're a Yankee fan of the original?
Nope, he was a Brooklyn Dodger fan in the original.
You sure?
I'm sure. I remember thinking that. The other thing they did well in that update that I think was they did more what the play does, which is they eliminated the scene at the beginning where you see the kid who's accused of murder. They still had the judge giving instructions, but they didn't show the kid who was accused, and they didn't have a little light shining on him and almost a halo on him, so you knew up front the kid was innocent. The entire point of the play is you're not supposed to know. So, they kind of eliminated that in the remake, and I like that. So my 5 movies... I picked 5 of what I think are the best. In episode 1, which ironically we've already recorded, we defined what we refer to as the difference between a good movie and an enjoyable movie. A good movie is high quality, has a good script, well acted, excellent camera work, good sets, all that stuff. Quintessential example I like to give of a good movie is Rocky. Everything about that movie is good. Then there are enjoyable movies. Enjoyable movies have none of the stuff I just listed, but you love them anyway. Good example of this is Rocky 3. Rocky 3 is not the work of art that Rocky is, but I love that movie. So all mine are movies I would consider to be good movies, high quality movies, among the best movies ever made. Number 1 is The Godfather, one of the best movies ever made. And one of the few serious movies to have a sequel that manages to be at least as good.
Mm-hmm.
Number 2, and I consider this not just to be the best comic book movie of all time, I consider this to be one of the best movies ever made, and that is Chris Nolan's. No, never. The stars don't think that. That would be Christopher Nolan's The Dark Knight. Brilliantly made movie. Truly captured the Nolanverse is grounded, real world. You could imagine this actually existing if you squint just a little bit. And so number 3 I put on the list is the movie I watch when I'm homesick and I can't do anything. I can't function. It is, for my money, one of the most complete movies ever made. Even though they made sequels, this movie stands on its own. The story it tells is wonderful. You only have to accept one premise and everything else works, and that is Back to the Future. I think Back to the Future is great. There are a few contrivances in the movie.
A few.
We're
just talking about the first one here, right?
First one. Let's set aside the fact that George and Lorraine managed to procreate at the exact same time in this new world where they have a much better marriage and are presumably procreating more frequently. Not only that,
Was trying to.
and let's also just, this is one of those beautiful things, and one of the reasons I believe in God. Not why I'm a Christian necessarily, but definitely why I'm a theist. If you think biologically, it is any human being who has ever existed could only have been conceived in about a 3-day window of time, because that's about how long the woman's ingredient, just in case people want to play this in front of their kids, is available. And then the man's ingredient is constantly being replaced every 4 or 5 days. So there's literally...
Just so everyone knows, I have no idea where he's going with this.
I just think it's beautiful that you have to have that particular cell from dad, that particular cell from mom, and they only have a crossover period of time of about 3 days in the history of the universe where any person listening to this could have existed. It means that, God felt the world he created needed one of you.
Right.
So
No,
I think
all
that's
right.
beautiful.
All right. How many movies you got left?
I have 2 more movies left.
Okay.
But yeah, the fact that George and Lorraine not only had the same children, which I can accept, but even though George is doing so much better financially that he goes from driving a piece of crap to a BMW or a Mercedes or something like that, they bought the same house. So that's
weird.
also, that is kind of weird. So anyway, but I think it's a great movie. If you can accept those small foibles, it's just brilliant. Number 4 on me, I chose to add Forrest Gump. I think Tom Hanks is a sadly underrated actor, and it's not that people don't recognize that he's great, but if you look at the range that man has played, he deserves to be in the conversation with people like Daniel Day-Lewis. And he's not.
Tom Hanks' early career was so comical and over the top.
Yeah.
And he's not... I don't really have the eyes for this, but from my understanding of such things, he's not a particularly good-looking guy. I don't know. I don't really know how it works. I don't know why any guys are good looking, but he doesn't seem like he look very well. Fits that. But he is a phenomenal actor. Like, you look at some of the roles he has pulled off, and he's able to do it in a way that looks effortless.
Exactly.
Yeah, he's like Fred Astaire dancing. He's doing incredibly difficult work, and he makes it look like it's just happening on screen.
Exactly. And so my final pick, I really wanted to pick a movie from the golden age of cinema. And so I went back and forth on this one, but I ended up going with number 5. I chose Casablanca. Was a big part of my life, and at a time when I was a teenager and kind of becoming a movie snob and really getting into older films. And I took an elective course that was a cinema or cinematography or whatever. It was like a half-year course in high school. So that is, to this day, one of my favorite movies. Can be considered a war movie, but so that's my number 5. So
it's not doesn't take place on the battlefront.
No,
but it is.
It does take place during World War II. Exactly,
it does.
So, final question as we wrap this movie.
Well, hold on. Before we get to the final question, I looked up during number 7. This is him. This is Jack Warden. So this is the original. He says, "Okay, man, let's take our seats, huh? We can get out of here pretty quick, and I've got tickets to the ball game tonight. Yanks in Cleveland."
Okay, I remembered it being the Dodgers. Okay. All right. So this is the final question. This is more of a thing. And the question is, imagine a world where you are going to be stranded on a desert island for a period of time, a long period of time, and you can bring one movie. And it's the only movie you have. For whatever reason, this desert island has electricity, but you have the ability to watch one movie, and it has to be a movie you can watch over and over again. And it doesn't have to be a good movie. Mine
Right, yeah.
is not. So, so Martin, what is your film?
I was thinking about this while we were talking. My natural movie to go to is Monty Python and the Holy Grail because I have watched that movie so many times and I have it memorized and I still enjoy watching it again.
You've watched it at least 100 times with me.
Yeah, so it's a movie I know really, really well. There is another movie that occurred to me that would also work. And this one is worth bringing up because when my wife and I got married, we did not have cable. We did not have a television. We did not. I technically had a DVD player in my computer, but I had only 4 movies, 3 of which she could not stand because they were like guy action movies. So we had only 1 movie that we could watch together, and we watched that movie. That was the only movie we watched for like a year and a half together. And that movie was Sky High with Kurt Russell.
Really?
And we're still not sick of it. We still watch it every once
It
in a
wasn't
while.
the movie that inspired your first dance?
You think it would be that? All right, we still actually watch Princess Bride a lot. So we watch Princess Bride all the time, but we also watch Sky High a lot. And that movie is not a good movie. But
I don't think I've ever watched it. But it's you know
worth
what?
it for it's worth it for Kurt Russell alone. Kurt Russell
Okay.
is he understands what that movie is. It's just, it's like this isn't a good movie, but I'm going to chew every piece of furniture I can find, and he's so
Right.
good, so good.
So, you know what? I'm going to take one more opportunity here to publicly share something because you mentioned Princess Bride, and that is one of those movies that people treat as untouchable. Martin is a huge fan. I'm a huge fan, but he's an even bigger fan. I have a way that Hollywood could remake The Princess Bride. However, it would need to have. I've told you this before. However, 2 of the roles in the film, and they're not in the story.
Oh yeah, you did tell me this before. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, are very specific actors, and that means we have a short window. Well, those actors are the appropriate age / still alive, where this could be done. So instead of young Fred Savage in his room sick, instead of that, we enter into a modern day child's bedroom. And in my mind, it's going to be a girl instead of a boy. And there's a reason for this. And her dad comes in with the book. Her dad is played by Fred Savage. So this is the same boy who had the book read to him now passing on the tradition. And so here's the key to making this movie. Everything in the story has to be word for word the original. We can put new actors in it because it's a different child's
except for the boy Grant, except for the scenes in the bedroom. Those can be different.
Right. The bedroom stories can be different. The little girl can ask different questions. She can change the way the characters look. She can tell her dad the characters don't look like they're described in the book and that she imagines them some other way.
Mm-hmm.
However, she can object to the fighting parts instead of the kissing parts. That sort of thing. Okay, so we go through the story. Obviously, it's a different child's imagination, so the characters look different. But the script has to be word for word. That is important because he's reading the same book. At the end of the book, he finishes reading the story, and we see headlights come in the window. Dad, played by Fred Savage, gets up and looks out the window to see who's there. And he says, "Oh, sweetie, Grandpa came to see you. Probably to cheer you up." So we hear Grandpa come in, but we don't see him yet. And now Dad, Fred Savage, says, "Hey, Dad, look what I was reading to," whatever the little girl's name is. And he shows her the book, just like you and Grandpa used to read it to me. And the little girl says, "Grandpa, maybe tomorrow if I'm still sick, you could come read it to me." And we finally flip the camera to see who Grandpa is. and we see Cary Elwes, the grandfather. And his response is, can you read it to me, is, as you wish. But there's something deeper underneath all of that. The hint behind this is when young Fred Savage was imagining this hero in the book, he imagined his real world hero, his dad. Tears. So that's my pitch. If anyone wants to make it, if they ever remake that movie other than that way, I will probably protest.
I think you could also work with Fred Savage as the grandfather if he gets that old. But
it doesn't work because I want part of the image to be that when young Fred Savage was imagining this story,
it would have to be different than what you just said. Yeah.
As his father.
Yeah.
So, okay. So let's wrap this up now with my Desert Island movie. It is not a high quality movie, but by God, I love this movie. I have watched it so many times. It is an amazing movie. It's just such
It's Barbie, isn't it? It's Barbie, isn't it?
No.
Right.
This is the movie Martin may remember that we the group of guys who were staying at my place the night before my wedding watched after the rehearsal dinner. Several of the groomsmen who did not live in town came over to hang out, and some of the ones who lived in town also did. And my cousin, my only older cousin, even though I have 30 some of them, I only have one older cousin, and I loved this movie together. We grew up seeing it. Our moms enjoyed it. Our moms are sisters. And we were introduced to it together. We watched it together. He borrowed my VHS copy to go away to college. He borrowed it just to borrow it. Then he took it to college, and it never came back. I spent the next 6 or 7 years giving him a hard time about it until he gave it to me on DVD for Christmas that year, 1 year. And then he said, "See,
suspense is killing you, Chris."
So the movie is, I love Top Gun. I just love that movie. There's just so many great moments in the movie. The ending where, you can be my wingman anytime. BS, you can be mine. Beautiful. Love the movie. I can watch it over and over and over again. So that is my Desert Island movie. Just because I love it that much. And it's in part inspired by that same cousin, because apparently he didn't have cable in college. That was the only movie he had with him.
Right.
And he watched it every night.
Yeah.
So it turned out, he eventually admitted to me, the reason it didn't come back is because he actually wore it out.
Oh.
Yep. So this has been our Getting to Know Us episode of Hey a Movie. Coming next week, next episode, because I'm not sure how soon I'm going to release this one, we are going to do our very first episode. And our very first episode will be 1984's Ghostbusters. But until then, I'm Chris Bastito.
And I'm Martin Glenn.
Saying,
ta-ta for now.
Ta-ta for now. Well, ta.